Let's talk about Snezhnaya. Funny story, I actually tried to record a livestream reaction like all the cool kids, but after the full hour I looked at my OBS and noticed my mic checkbox wasn't checked in. I made this plugin specifically to easily manage my audio tracks and still messed it up. I was on about 4 hours of sleep after being awake for almost 24 hours trying to finish my Frost Moon video before the livestream, which I also failed to do. And yeah, I guess at that point the words game and mic look too similar. Anyway, yeah, let's talk about the livestream. First, I'll start by stating a few things I thought before the livestream started, which I tried to do in my other recording too, but whatever. Getting into it, I had two theories that I was looking to see either confirmed or denied. Number 1. The Tsaritsa is the first angel. I'm not sure the exact way she took the role, but my best guess would be that Anastasia Fyodorovna Snezhnaya, the daughter of the Belyy Tsar, was supposed to assume the role of Cryo-Archon when the Belyy Tsar died, but the first angel secretly supplanted her and is now pretending to be her, and is now secretly the Cryo-Archon. Alternatively, maybe the first angel possessed her body, or they share a body, or something like that. Number 2, the kid in the teaser trailer is the third descender, and the third descender was the child of the Voyager and the first angel. That one was a bit out of left field, but I was just trying to tie everything together in a nice little picture. The first scene is after Snezhnaya has been frozen over and Traveler is wandering alone looking for Paimon.
Where's Paimon? I need to find her fast!
Or is he? Let's all keep in mind that trailers are clickbait because their entire purpose is to catch your interest and get you excited for the upcoming content. And just like many clickbait thumbnails, they frequently do that by being outright dishonest about the content. More often than not, any voice line you hear in a trailer probably doesn't even go with the images on screen. So Traveler is probably looking for Paimon at some other part of the game, and they just played that voice line with Traveler trudging through a blizzard. Moving on, we then hear Piero complain about how the gods have never shown favor to Snezhnaya.
This nation to which the gods have never shown favor.
But that doesn't make sense because you guys literally have an Archon. That's the definition of the gods showing you favor. The only nation to which the gods showed no favor was Khaenri'ah. It's almost like he's implying that Snezhnaya is Khaenri'ah. Or more specifically, after Khaenri'ah was destroyed, the survivors infiltrated and took over Snezhnaya. Here's a quick little story prediction. After Khaenri'ah is destroyed, survivors led by Piero head north and discover Hyperborea. While there, they find the first angel, who we know escaped from her confinement in Amsvartnir and went there too. She tells them all about the Voyager, and all of them being descendants of that union. Together, they form the plan to stage a coup d'etat in nearby Snezhnaya, since that nation just lost their Archon. It succeeds, and here we are. And no, I didn't come up with this Snezhnaya is Khaenri'ah theory after the livestream. I've had it for a while, but the only place I talked about it is in Komemos' Discord, with a few other loreheads there, since I don't have my own Discord. Yet. But as I say in the logs, well, I'll let the music speak for itself.
She is a god with no love left for her people, nor do they have any left for her. Her followers hope only to be on her side when the day of her rebellion against the divine comes at last. In the perpetual meantime of a sheltered eternity, most are content to live and not to dream. But in the hidden corners where the god's gaze does not fall, there are those who dream of dreaming. Some say a few are chosen and the rest are dregs. But I say we humans have our humanity.
Next up, they drop the Shadow Realm info. I'm pretty sure this is Poyola, which is mentioned in various Nodcry texts as a place that the Belyy Tsar, or specifically Pakasuko, who we think is the Belyy Tsar, was trying to gain entry to, and the place that the third descender did gain entry to, and the Heavenly Principles killed him for it. It looks like the Abyss because, well, Poyola probably is the Abyss, or some sort of pocket of the Abyss, like the one Skirk hangs out in. Another mention of Project Stuzha, which is something that is in effect, and apparently they periodically vote on whether to keep it in effect. Still not sure what that is. Some people say it's related to the city freezing, but why would people be voting on whether their entire city freezes over? We also originally heard that the House of the Hearth would be closely involved, and Columbina told us it involves something called Mistletoe, which in Norse mythology is Thrain's sword, Thrain being Capitano. Yeah, I don't have any theories on it right now, but it is interesting. And now we get to Ronova.
A civilization that fails to learn its lesson constantly depletes its own worth. It will one day lose any reason for its existence.
What lesson is she talking about here? Probably defying the heavenly principles. And she says constantly because Snezhnaya is defying the gods now, and they came from Khaenri'ah, which defied the gods, and Khaenri'ah descending from the Voyager and First Angel would link it to Hyperborea, which defied the gods. So I guess Ronova is getting sick of it. We also now see everyone passed out and travelers struggling. That's probably all Ronova. She shows up in Snezhnaya and brings every single person in the city to the brink of death with her mere presence, with only Traveler resisting because he's a descender. Oh, and it affects Paimon too. Ronova says a lot here, and they want us to think this is a conversation between Traveler and Ronova, but none of this means anything. Like I said, they will play voice lines over completely unrelated images, and will even cut and paste two voice lines together when they aren't even part of the same conversation. So I'm not even going to bother trying to draw conclusions from this exchange. All we can draw conclusions from is the fact that Traveler is fighting Ronova. Given the last time either fought a Shade, he was at full power and had his full power sister with him, and both of them got unfathomable levels of bodied. I don't expect this to go well. That said, he does manage to get a hit in, so something is different this time. And then we have Paimon, and Ronova seems to specifically target Paimon. These scenes are certainly all out of order, but one thing we can note is Renova's position. She seems to start the fight in the air and later move toward the ground. When she shoots this laser, she's in the air, and when Traveler scratches her, she's on the ground. Keep in mind the laser being shot and the laser heading toward Paimon could be two different parts of the scene. I'm going to assume they are the same shot, since this laser seems to be coming in at an upward angle-ish. Could go either way, honestly. So I'm going to yet again make up a story of what might be happening. I think Ronova is trying to awaken the Traveler's powers by threatening Paimon. It's one of the most common anime tropes ever to have the hero unleash hidden powers when their loved one is targeted, and Genshin isn't above using anime tropes. Lastly, Piero says the Tsaritsa will return soon, and later in the livestream they confirm she's not currently in Snezhnograd. So everything Renova's doing could also be to force the Tsaritsa to come back. And that could also lead to the scene in the teaser where she walks in and confronts Ronova. That's about all I have to say on that, so let me make one more comment about Ronova. Reading the Death Lunar Arcanum, it seems to imply that Ronova doesn't want to be the ruler of death anymore, so the conclusion of this story might be her surrendering her powers and deciding to just let the Tsaritsa, First Angel, do what she's gonna do. And then she becomes playable, because there ain't no way Hoyo's gonna let all that revenue slip away, right? Right? Well, that's the trailer, so let's move on to the dev stream, which had the actual lore drop that everyone has been talking about. But I'm going to go through it in order, so we'll get there in a sec. The first bit of lore is that Snezhnaya wasn't always frozen. It used to be pretty nice. Sounds like Dragonspine. This could have been caused by a divine nail, just like Dragonspine, but it also could have been caused by the death of the Cryo Dragon Sovereign. Nahida told us back in her Story Quest Act 2 that if Apep were to die, the Dendro energy released would blanket all of Sumeru in overgrown trees that would block out the sun and compete for oxygen with humanity. Nobody tell her that's not how plants work. So the death of the Cryo Dragon Sovereign would almost certainly cause an immediate ice age. Later in the stream, when they talk about the Tsaritsa being far from home, they say she's campaigning against the monster responsible for this catastrophe. So maybe it's possible the Cryo Sovereign is still alive and doing this on purpose. The next lore drop is about about the Third Descender. Until now, I think we were on the fence about whether the Third Descender was an outsider or someone native to Teyvat who became a Descender through force of will. We assumed he was the hero named Ajax, and that guy kinda seemed like a native. But no, they confirm he came from beyond this world. Now, it could still be Ajax, because we ultimately don't know enough about any of them to say one way or the other. But one thing's for sure, my cope theory that the kid in the teaser was the Third Descender is debunked before it ever saw the light of day. Okay, now we can talk about how the Tsaritsa is the ancestor of Khaenri'ah. This probably took most people totally by surprise, but I was already operating under the assumption that the Tsaritsa is the first angel, and the star-shaped pupils of the Voyager, the first angel's lover, matching the people of Khaenri'ah was already the source of a theory that the Voyager was related to Khaenri'ah. So it's literally just one step away from the Voyager and the Tsaritsa being the progenitors of all of Khaenri'ah. So sorry to be that guy, but I was not surprised. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that Khaenri'ah had two dynasties. Only the Eclipse dynasty had the star-shaped pupils. The Crimson Moon dynasty had the X-shaped pupils like Arlecchino, so surely she can't be the ancestor of all Khaenri'ahns, only the ones who came to power with King Ermin. And saving the best piece of evidence for last, put the descriptions of Polar Star and Azure Light side by side. Polar Star is a speech about the Tsaritsa. Azure Light is a speech by the First Angel. The similarities in the word choice is undeniable and is definitely not a coincidence. They are the same person. And lastly, another brief rant. Genshin is doing this thing now where you can jump ahead to the current story and skip everything else, and then also incentivizing you to do just that by tying limited time rewards to it. For everyone watching this video, we probably don't care because we're all caught up with the story. But for new players, this is frankly trash. Experiencing the story in order is the best part of the game. The devs should not be encouraging people to skip it. If you've got any new player friends, be sure to tell them to avoid all these stupid quick start features. A couple wishes is not worth completely destroying your experience of playing through the story. Okay, that's my 7.0 livestream video. It's probably for the best that my attempt at a livestream reaction failed, because I'm sure this video was presented way better than a reaction would have been. But that doesn't mean I won't try to do it again in the future. Either way, thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want to hear me talk about lore some more in the future.